Welcome back to the Stride and Thrive podcast. This is episode number 10. And in today's episode, I am joined by the amazing Miss Sammy Hankins from season 4 of Search4Hurt. Now, if you don't know what Search4Hurt is, it is a TV show that has been around for quite some time, but it only just got revived again this year. And honestly, it has come back even bigger and better. The main premise of the show is that a number of athletes got selected to go to Hurt Camp, and from Hurt Camp, only 4 athletes, 2 males and 2 females, were selected to be on Team Search4Hurt. And throughout the season, they get put in so many different competitions and events that test their true mental grit and physical capabilities. And it's so cool to see them just dabble in a lot of extreme events, but also events that most people in the public can do, like Hyrox, obstacle course races, things like that. And then obviously they have gone to the extreme side as well, doing triathlons and powerlifting competitions on the same day. It's a TV show that really sparks a lot of inspiration and motivation, and it's really cool to see each athlete's reflections throughout the season in what they've learned and how far they've come as well in their own development. We do discuss some aspects of the TV show today, which is awesome, especially with how Sammy has grown from the first episode all the way up until now. We also discuss Hyrox a little bit, our thoughts, feelings, opinions on various things, including the $600 Hyrox bag that you may or may not have seen. We also dive deep into Sammy's injury rehab protocols, as well as a little bit of a backstory into how she even became an athlete. So there are so many things to dabble in today's episode, and she is such a laugh. It is so cool to hang out with someone who's so funny. So sit back, enjoy, relax, and hope you enjoy the episode. Where was your first Hyrox race?
Well, my first ever Hyrox race was in Sydney in 2023, but that was as a double. So I did it with a client. So I was kind of like very stagnant with my training, and I'd just gone through a bit of a life change. So I just had a breakup, and one of my clients suggested that I do Hyrox. And ironically, I said to her, I was like, there's no way that I can do the whole race on my own. Like I can't do the whole race on my own. And so she was like, you can borrow my husband and you guys should do it as a double. And so Victor and I trained, I think we trained for 3 weeks before we went down. We just booked it spare of the moment, booked the flights, booked the ticket, and we did it as a double. And we ended up coming 3rd in our age group. But yeah, did it, loved it. It was very achievable. Like, you know, I think you put that doubt in your head, like you can't do it. But as soon as you do it, you go, oh yeah, I'm actually capable of doing that. And then from that event, we planned to do Brisbane Hyrox, both as singles. So Victor would do pro men's and I would do pro women's. But when I booked that, I don't know when tickets would have come out. It would have been like the end of 2023. It would have been before anything to do with Search. So maybe not long after we'd actually done Sydney, we booked it. And even back then, I still didn't think I was going to be capable of doing it on my own. Like it was a big thing for me to book that ticket as a solo women's pro. I was kind of like, oh man, I'm going to have to do some training before I step into that.
Your first pro solo, when was that?
That was that the start of June this year for Melbourne Hyrox, which was part of the Search4Hurt.
Wow. So you qualified for Worlds, by the way, listeners, just letting you know. So you're going to Chicago, are you?
Yes. Well, I'm going to try. I mean, like I'm definitely going to try and plan for it. But it's funny you say that because now that you've got like that love for Hyrox, and you can, like, it can take you all over the world. You know what I mean? Like you can do, they've just released New Zealand. So you can do a race in New Zealand. You can go over to Singapore, Hong Kong. You can, you know, go to Barcelona. Like there's all these places you can go. I would love to go to Chicago. Like I'm definitely going to try and make it work. I want to do New Zealand as well. So if anyone's listening and they want to sponsor both me and Mon to travel the world and do Hyrox, yeah, I mean, I'll try and do as many races as I can, but I'll definitely make Hyrox Worlds a priority. But it's still going to be a big trip.
Yeah, it's a 14-hour flight to LA, I think, from Sydney. And then obviously you have to fly from LA to Chicago. So it's going to be
Yeah.
a big trip.
There's a fair few of us that are going. Like, Mom, we just got to get you across that line at Melbourne.
I just got to qualify. I've already had like 3 opportunities, and even New Zealand. Oh, I'm so excited for New Zealand, by the way, that 1K lap.
I know, outside too. I actually don't mind running inside, like, and especially when you're running around, like even if it's like 2 or 3 laps, because you've got the spectators, like I always feel like you've got a buzz from whether it's someone like doing the exercises beside you or a spectator, whether it's yours or someone else's, like you've always got this buzz from people. So it will be interesting to be running out of the arena for a K lap. Like it will be different. I guess that's, they say you can't, because after I'd done Melbourne and then obviously had planned to do Brisbane, I was speaking both to Peter and Chris and just like, I want to shave 2 minutes off my time. While you want to do a PB every race, it is hard to compare times from different races because the courses could be slightly different. Like obviously it's always going to be a 1K run, but they're all slightly different. I mean, and I guess New Zealand now is going to be outside. So yeah, while they're all the same race, they are slightly different, which I think makes it cool in their own way.
New Zealand one, I feel like it's kind of freaking some people out because, the weather in New Zealand is a bit hit and miss.
I did look it up today and it does say that it should be between 20 and 30, which is a big kind of range, I guess. Speaking about temperature, when I did the Backyard Ultra back in March and it was in Melbourne for the show, it was our first event and it was so hot. Like it was just ridiculous, especially for Melbourne. And I remember, I can't even tell you what lap it was, but Holly from her camp was also doing the event. She goes, "Oh, how do you go running in the heat?" And at that point, I must have been feeling okay because I was like, "Oh, I'm from Queensland and, like I've been running at midday, so I feel okay." Not long after that, boy, did the heat get to me. Like it just zaps you and you almost feel like you just got I just couldn't turn over. Like I just couldn't give anything. It was so ironic. I just said to Holly, I was like, yeah, I'm okay with the heat. No.
How hot was it on that day?
40 degrees. I'd never done a race like that. I didn't know what to expect just from a race like that. So to add heat to it, like I wasn't really thinking about the heat or how that could impact me because I was just so hung up on the fact that I'd never done this concept of just run until you can't run. But I think it was lap 4 when I started to feel a little bit wobbly and I came in, I was laying on the floor and I remember Phil saying to me, I can't what's his name? But he was like, "Oh, so-and-so has dropped out." And I was like, "Who's that?" And he's like, "He's an ultra marathon runner." And like, so we had people that were specialized in that event dropping out before us because of the heat and not necessarily because at that point they physically couldn't go anymore. But I think they just knew that the heat would be such a big factor that they thought, well, I'm not going to go for a PB here or I'm not going to go for number, like they just thought, no, I'm just going to pull the pin now. So you're right. It's interesting that they still actually even ran the event, knowing that some of these top runners pulled out, lap 3 or before. Before the show or before the season, I would say I was just an everyday athlete. You know what I mean? Like I didn't really think about supplements or, electrolytes or hydration. It was just very much like I would do things off the cuff and, like if something came up, I'd be like, with Hyrox, even Hyrox last year, it was like, yeah, cool. Okay, let's do that. Whereas now that I've experienced, I guess overload and such an increase in your training and even how something like the heat can affect your race, I'm more conscious of things like, making sure I am hydrating properly or prioritizing protein or, not just drinking water, like because we sweat so much, one, we need more than the everyday person, but, replenishing those hydrolytes or those electrolytes. So just things like that, I'm definitely more aware of. But yeah, previously it was like, oh, the heat won't affect me, but it does. It can knock you around for sure.
I've only known you since Hurt Camp, and from what I saw from your performance there, I went, okay, she's an athlete. So what's your background then? What did you do growing up and everything like that? Because I'm actually intrigued. I thought that you've always had that athletic background.
So growing up, I did swimming. Like swimming was my main kind of sport. I did that from I think I did it from like the ages of well, I did like the whole learn to swim, but competitive swimming I would have done from at least ages 9 to 15. I loved swimming. Like, yes, it's an individual sport, but we were very much, you have like your club and stuff like that. So you have club nights and you travel together. So there was still that team aspect. But, it's funny. Like, I could be racing some of the top girls and all I wanted to do was beat Amy, who was in my squad, and I'd go up to Mark, my coach, and be like, how can I beat her? Like, I always just wanted to do well. And I guess like that satisfaction of like, making myself proud, but also making like my team and my coach proud. Like I loved it. Absolutely loved it. But, when I hit 15 and got my first boyfriend, it was kind of like, maybe hanging out with my friends is a little bit more of a priority. So I stopped swimming altogether. I was still sporty. I played a little bit of netball. And I don't think I really got into training after that until maybe I was like 19. And really not like after swimming, nothing was ever competitive. Like I never kind of went back into like a full training program or, a structured training program. So I don't know whether it's just from those swimming days that I've kind of got like that athleticism, but I've just always enjoyed being active. So whether it's like, training for something, training has always just been like a part of my life. It's very good for my mental health. It's probably I do it more for my mental health, but yeah, only since this year, and I wouldn't like, it's taken me probably up until now to really realize what is involved with being an athlete or kind of doing that full time. But yeah, I guess I was just, I don't know if you can say it was genes. I don't know. Or I've just had a really good base for like many, many years. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't consider myself an athlete. Or definitely not at Hurt Camp. I did not consider myself an athlete at Hurt Camp. I was just that everyday girl that came in. I was like, I'm just going to give it a crack. And if I don't go anywhere, who cares? At least I've been a part of this experience.
It's the bloody swimming, I swear. You, Calypso, everyone else.
Yeah.
I missed out on that because I only swam maybe once a week. I don't think I did more than twice, to be honest. When a swimming carnival would come up, I might have done an extra session or two. But, thinking that I could just get away with one of my swimming classes and come out on top, absolutely not.
And that's the thing, like as a 13-year-old girl, I was at the pool morning and night, 5 days a week. On Wednesday afternoons, we didn't have to train, but we had club night. So it was kind of like a chance for us to do like some practice races. And then good chances on a weekend would be driving to a swim carnival. So like for that age, you swim a lot. And some of the sessions could be 5, 6K. So times 2 for 2 sessions a day, times that by 5. I'm not good at math, but it was a lot of Ks that we were swimming in the pool.
And did you do off-land stuff as well?
No, a little bit. We might have done like every now and then Mark might have had us do like a few planks or a few squats or push-ups on the grass, but like it was never a strength and conditioning program that was attached to my swimming. It was just more swimming. And I think like I was so young and I just loved it. It wasn't like I was trying to get anywhere. I wasn't trying to get on the Olympic team or anything. I just did it because I loved it.
So when did you start running?
Well, this is another thing. I wouldn't consider myself a runner. So I know it's crazy.
Like Sammy can run like a 20-minute 5K. Like I'd say that's a runner.
I did a little bit of running. So it would have been 2014. I think I ran my first half marathon. I think it was 2014, maybe 2015. Don't know. I was a PT in the city. And I guess I had that, like, I've always been aerobically fit, probably from my days with swimming. I've just, I've got that good base. But I did train for this half marathon. But I remember getting up to like a 14K training run and thought, this is so boring. Like, I don't want to do a 14K training run. Like, I think it was like an hour and a bit or whatever. And so I never ran more than 14Ks before I did that 21. And I could do it aerobically, but, in terms of like my shoes and my knees and like everything was sore. I had blisters all over my feet. But yeah, I've never been like a big runner. Like that was a big event that I did. And then coming into the season of Search, especially leading into that backyard, you'll laugh at this. The first time I'd done a 5K run in probably a couple of years was when I had to qualify for Search4Hurt. So we had to do a 5K time trial, and that was the first time I'd done 5Ks in years. I hadn't run before that.
What was your 5K time? I'm pretty sure it's like the low 20s.
I remember we were running under 4 minutes for the first 2K because I ran it with Victor. I said to Victor, I was like, I need you to pace me, because I had an idea of where I sat on the leaderboard because I'd submitted my 100 burpees and my PFT time. I hadn't done my 5K. So I could see some of the girls' times and I could see what some of their scores were. So I was like, I had a rough idea of what I want. I think it was 23 minutes. I had to get under 23 to be put on a good spot. And so I said to Victor, I said, can you come with me? Like, can you pace me? And he's like, yeah, yep, sure. And one of my other members from the studio gave me some pre-workout. He was like, here, take this. You know, you're going to get the tingles, but you'll be fine. I was like, okay. So I remember drinking that. We went down to not the Esplanade, Coronation Drive, sorry. And yeah, the first 2Ks were under 4 minutes each. And I remember Victor saying to me, he's like, are you going to hold this pace? And I was like, I hope so. I think so. And I think we blew out a little bit, but we must have been like 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Yeah, it must have been like 21 minutes or something, I reckon. But I was stoked. Like I was actually blown away myself. I was like, have I actually run that? Like, and Victor was like amazed with his time because I got him to shoot off at the end. I was like, I'm dying. You try and actually get what you want to do. Yeah, so I held on to that time. So I think I did that on the Friday and submissions closed on the Saturday night. So I knew it was a good score. So I sat on it and I didn't submit it until like 9 o'clock on the Saturday night, went to bed and then woke up on the Sunday and I was like, okay, shit, where do I sit? And when I woke up, I was like, I think I was trying to go for top 10 and I think I was like 4th.
So cheeky hiding that score. Imagine if you had started a little bit slower and then you kind of like negative split it. I reckon you could have gone a bit faster.
I haven't done another 5K time trial.
Because what are you running at Hyrox, like 1K average time?
I think when I ran in Melbourne, it was like my average was 4:25. And I think Brisbane was probably similar, maybe a little slower, but my exercises were faster. I remember I was doing 8x1Ks. It's supposed to be with a 2-minute float, but my 2-minute float was standing on the spot and recovering. And I was able to average just under 4-minute Ks for that. And that was before Melbourne Hyrox. Yeah.
And you say you're a runner?
Well, we'd done backyard and then we had to do a little bit of running for Xterra. And then we started training for Race the Sun. So I had done a little bit of running before Melbourne Hyrox. But prior to the show, no, I wasn't like a regular runner or anything like that.
Oh my goodness. Some of the listeners are going to hate you because
I know
you're so fast compared to a lot of people. Even myself, like I put in so much effort for my runs and yeah, I'm nowhere near that. That's so good.
Maybe we should all do swimming. Maybe there is something in the water. Yes, I can run, but the preparation that I did in the lead up to the show, to the backyard, to Race the Sun has now led to me having this stress fracture. So, you know, while I was fast, I'm now out of the game for a good 8 weeks. So, you know, I wouldn't recommend to anyone, like I was under different conditions. And as a trainer, I look back now and think I would never recommend my clients to go from 0 to 100. But, you know, I guess that's what a TV show does. And, you know, the pressure of having cameras and you're racing against someone, you just think I've just got to do as much as I can. But I would definitely recommend trying to just slowly increase and, yeah, just, you know, being grateful for where you're at and then just slowly try and beat it. Don't go from 0 to 100. Otherwise, it's just going to shoot you in the foot.
Literally. So tell us about the Race the Sun event, because that was your last event that you had before you were really injured, hey?
I think it was evident now that we look back at the footage. The stress fracture probably, I don't know whether I had it from previously, but it really started to niggle at Race the Sun. So I actually remember going into Race the Sun having really tight calves. I had tight calves at turf games, which was in April. That would have been mid-April. Came home from that and thought, I've got 1 month or 5 weeks or something to just run as much as I can. And we had to run fast for Race the Sun. Like, it wasn't just the distance that we had to be able to do. It was the pace that we had to be able to uphold in order to get the 345 Ks in the 24 hours. So, with not a lot of structure or planning or, progressive overload, I just kind of went in and I just ran as much as I could and I ran as fast as I could. And I probably wasn't running in the best shoes, and I was running on hard concrete. I wasn't running around a track or trail running or anything like that. But yeah, went into the race and we did really well. And I was actually surprised with how fast I could run and how much distance I did. But I think that's definitely where that niggle started to come up and really became evident for me. Like, after Race the Sun, just to press my calf, I was like, man, that is sore. I knew something was up, but I just thought, well, I'm doing all these new events. I'm doing a shitload more training than I've ever done. Probably not recovering as well. I definitely haven't done this beautiful increase of load. So I knew, it was kind of warranted to be sore, but I didn't realize it would actually be as bad as it was. But yeah, that was May. Then we carried on. We did Hyrox in June. I did the Raw challenge in July, and I was hobbling around Raw on the Gold Coast, and everyone kept saying to me, stop limping. I was like, I can't. And they're like, oh, you're going to stuff your hips up. And I was like, if you want me to run around this course, that's the only way I can get around this course. So,
that's so funny. They should have just passed you some crutches, and that would have been a bit more helpful instead of stop limping.
But and even at that point, I just, the Raw challenge was the last one. It was a little bit of fun. Yes, it was a battle against teams. But in my head, I just thought, after this event, I'll be all good. I'll be able to take some time off. And, the pain will start subsiding. It'll be fine. And I remember after Raw, same thing, I got home and my leg was throbbing. I was taking Panadol just to numb it was so sore. And my dad's girlfriend was like, oh, here, have some Voltaren. And now that I think about it, it was that deep throb. The physio's that's definitely bone damage. I'm like, okay, that makes sense now. But I still had Hyrox Brisbane. So I just wanted to make that event. I just wanted to do that one. And I said that to my physio, because when I went and saw her, she was like, right, what do you have coming up? And I said, I've got Hyrox in August in Brisbane. I just want to get through that. And then she said, what do you have? And I said, nothing. And she said, okay. And she said, we are taking a bit of a risk. We can manage the pain until August. That would have been mid-August. But she said, if you pull up sore after Hyrox, you get a scan. And the day after Hyrox, I did not leave my bed. I couldn't walk.
Did you PB at Hyrox?
Yeah, I took about 90 seconds off.
That's substantial.
Yeah, I know. It's so, isn't it crazy, that whole mind over matter? I think if someone had told me, or if I had the scan before Hyrox Brisbane, my mindset would have been completely different. But, God bless my physio. I remember her saying to me the day before Hyrox, I went and saw her. I said, Yannick, it's so sore. You're going to have to dry needle it again. And she was like, okay. And she dry needled it. And I said, do you think everything's going to be okay? And she said, everything is fine. Do not worry about it. Just go out there and race and we'll deal with it on Monday. And so that's what I did. I thought, okay, she said it's fine. It's dry needled. And when I started to, I went out, it takes me a little bit of time to warm up. That first lap is really good because it just, I warm up. After that, did not think of it once. I was like, it's pretty good. And it wasn't until after the race where I was like, okay, it's a little bit tender. But if you had told me before that I had a stress fracture, good chances are I probably would have pulled out of the race. Just because that fear of that unknown, God, am I going to snap my leg if I run? But I wasn't thinking that. My physio had said, you're all good. Don't think about it. Go out there and just race your race. So that's just what I did.
And it's a bit of placebo as well, because if you tell someone you're going to hurt and this is happening, then you're setting yourself up and you're making yourself feel things. So sometimes you can do amazing things with injuries and you have no idea.
I had a little bit of that growth through the show. So when I went into backyard, the overwhelming thought of the unknown just took over. You know what I mean? I was so hung up in my head of where am I going to finish? How long am I going to last? How am I going to stack up against everyone else? It just consumed me all in a negative way. Whereas after that, I got the opportunity to work with like a bit of like a sports psych. And he just said, got to put positive thoughts back into your mind. Like, don't be so resistant to having those negative thoughts come up. He said, everyone has them. Even the elite people have them, but it's how you manage them. You put a negative thought into your mind, that's what's going to be the outcome. But if you can turn that around and think of, you know, all the great things, like I'm going to have a great race and I want to feel consistent on my runs and, you know, I'm going to make sure that I do as many unbroken, like just those positive things, it makes such a difference to the flow of your race. And I felt that over the season. Like I just thought, no, I'm just going to change this and think positive, and it helps tenfold.
And it's cool to see that growth on the TV show, because even though there are some things edited out because they could only fit it in 25 minutes, each episode you can see your self-limiting beliefs just get scratched away until the end.
I'm glad I had that downfall at Backyard, because I think it made me appreciate and just reminded me why I went on, you know, why I wanted to apply for the show. I never went on the show to be the best. I never thought I was going to be the best. But then, you know, when I got selected, like, you know, I'm stacked up against Lachlan Danzy, who's been in the game for many, many years. Peter Day, who's just an energizer buddy, just does not stop running laps. And then Laura, who has got so much experience. Like at first I was just like, oh my God, I am the little fish in the room. And I took that as a negative thing. But after that first event, after Backyard, I thought, no way. Like I am surrounded by these three amazing athletes that have been in this industry for way longer than me. What can I learn from them? And I thought, I've just got to enjoy this experience for what it is and soak it up while I have this opportunity. So yeah, and that's what I took going into every event. I was like, yep, it's a new event, but let's just see what happens. Let's see what I can do and what I can learn from it. So yeah, I'm glad I had that little dip at the start, because it just really reminded me why I was there and what I actually wanted to get from the experience.
It reminds me of a quote that I strongly live by, and it's, if you're the smartest in the room, you're in the wrong room. And I think that reflects exactly what you experienced.
Yeah. And I think for many years, you know, I have been stagnant in that sense. Like I've been afraid to be the little fish, but with that comes so much growth, like, and that discomfort, like you can just learn so much. And I think now, having this experience, I will always try and put myself out of my comfort zone. You know, I feel like if things get a bit stagnant again, I'll know for sure, like, you've just got to ruffle a few feathers, and otherwise things will feel monotonous. And yeah, even though it's hard and it can be overwhelming, it is so rewarding. So rewarding.
If you're someone who dabbles in running, whether you're a beginner or the elite, and you're looking for a gym program that covers all of your athletic bases, from strength, power, mobility, learning new skills, and just absolutely everything in between, then the Strong Runner Lifting Club is perfect for you. Grab your 7-day free trial, link in bio. So with all your experiences, especially the ones that you've had in this last year, what is next for you?
That's what I'm trying to figure out now. So, you know, and to be honest, like, the show was so amazing, not only to have all these experiences, but you think of the time and money that takes. Like it's a big investment. And like I would love to continue down that path and keep, you know, growing and working on myself and seeing what I can do in the space of, like, you know, this fitness realm. But, you know, having the resources to do that is a little bit limited. So like I have big hopes and dreams, and I would love to continue like through the Hyrox season and do as many events like that as I could. Like there's all these events that I'd never heard of that I would love to just keep trying and just keep challenging yourself. But yeah, I think I might have to be a little bit selective with what I choose, just in terms of like having the resource to do it all. I'm always up for a challenge, always up for anything new, to see where it takes me.
And being selective is not a bad thing, because I found an issue in the past is I'd always say yes to things. I had this year where I was like, yes, yes, yes. And every month I'd have multiple events. Then you kind of get that event fatigue, and you get burnt out, and then you get injured, and it's just not fun anymore.
I agree, because you can't do it all. Like, I mean, I had a great season with Search, but it was on a really tight time frame, and it has led to injury. But I think with that said, if I was to choose one thing to run with, it would, I'd love to give Hyrox a crack next year and just see how far, because you think you've got Worlds halfway through next year. And then, I mean, wouldn't it be cool if you could make the Elite 15? Like, wouldn't that be sick?
What's your fastest time at the moment?
Fastest time is 1:11:13. So I need to get low. We were having a look at the times of last year, and I think the fastest girl, I think it was like 1:01, not in the Elite 15. This was just in Hyrox Pro. I think it was like 1:01. And then there was like a bunch of girls that were around 1:04. So now I've got this whole 1:04 in my head. Like if I could go 1:04 at Worlds, man, that would be crazy.
What stations do you think you could really cut time?
I think wall balls. If I could get like Joanna, didn't she do 100 unbroken wall balls at the end of her race in Brisbane? I would like to get a little bit quicker with my runs. Like my times, like I've had a look at some of my station times, and not compared to Joanna, like she's just in a league of her own. But some of the other girls that are around me, our station times are pretty similar. If anything, I might be a little quicker, but and my runs aren't slow, but I would just like to get a little bit quicker. And, I do feel like I come in from the runs and it's not gas, but how they talk about, having, they use their runs to push and then they have the exercises as their recovery. You heard some of the top people say that? Whereas I don't feel like I can push the runs and then come in and hold the times that I'm currently doing for my exercises, if that was to make sense. Like, so I would love to improve the average time of my runs, maybe from 4:25, even down to 4:15. So that's 10 seconds a lap. That's another 80 seconds.
At the end of the day, like Hyrox is a running race because, as you can see, if you're fast enough and you suck at the stations, you're not as strong. As long as you're not taking more than 10 minutes each station, you can outrun everyone else if you just work on that.
Oh, for sure. Because you see these people, I was even talking to another guy who I think he's looking to launch Hyrox in, was it India? I don't know. Anyway, and he was like, I want to get all my triathlete mates to jump on it. And I was like, they would be so good because they're just so fit. And is it Beth McKenzie, the runner, who did Hyrox for the first time with her partner in Brisbane? And I think she trained 2 sessions before she did Hyrox. And she is a phenomenal runner. Like she can run 40K or something at 4-minute pace. And her and her husband just smashed it. Absolutely smashed it. Fresh. Like they just look like they're just gliding. Like whereas I feel like if I was running 350 pace ever, I'd look like I'm about to curl over.
They're ready for the photos, the sponsors, the photo shoots. It's all happening at Hyrox.
Cross the line and just don't even be huffing and puffing and just be ready to take like a full interview. Whereas I'm just like, give me a second.
Lying down on the stage with the Red Bull can in your hand.
Yeah. But sometimes like you walk into that Hyrox arena and it is just, it's humming. Like I think it would be so easy. Like, I mean, I walked in, I was overwhelmed. Like I think it was probably only lucky that we had 3 other people that I was racing with. And you've got, we had Mark and Adam and Chris, like Matt going, have you got everything? But probably lucky for them because you do like you go in and you just kind of become a bit overwhelmed and like it's just so much in there. It's like overload, stimulation can't focus.
I really liked the Brisbane course or how they set it up because you didn't have to worry about walking through and crossing. It was just the warm-up area and then you just go straight. You didn't have to like go into the arena at all.
Yeah, it was different. But I mean, like, where do you always put your bag in bag drop?
Yeah.
Or do you just keep your bag? Yeah, I just keep my bag inside. So I don't really care where the start line is. as long
as hope that no one steals your bag.
Oh, mate, there wouldn't be much in it. They can steal a few gels and... No, actually, we did have Gary looking after our bags at Brisbane. So, maybe it'd be different if I didn't have anyone. But, yeah.
Or if your bag was the $600 Hyrox bag.
Well, that too. I've just got my $8 black Kmart bag that I take everywhere, so I really don't mind.
It was insane when I walked into the gift shop and I saw the merch shop, and I saw the first one was a $360 one. I understand it's Hyrox branded. And then I walk back in again, and he stocked the $600 gigantic tactical bag. And I went, this is a little bit excessive. And people bought it.
What price is it at $600?
I know that it's branded, built for athletes, and it's Hyrox collaboration. So they've got a yellow part to it, I guess. So it is Hyrox.
Is it literally just a backpack?
Yeah, it's just a tactical bag.
But what's a tactical bag? Like, is there anything special? Like, what? Fucking defends you? Does it defend you?
I've got,
Do you actually have one, Mon?
No, but not a $600 Hyrox one.
Oh,
but this is my tactical bag from Temu.
Oh, yes. Yes.
It's a bit blurry. This is pretty much the same size as the $600 one, and it cost $20.
Yeah, that's crazy. Temu's great. We bought a heap of sunglasses. I bought like those knockoff frog grips, like hand grips for turf games. Oh, I got so when we did Xterra and we didn't have to, but like mountain bike riding glasses that change shades depending on whether you're in the sun or out of the sun. I got them off Temu. So I went into Oakley and this girl's like, what do you want your sunnies for? And I was like, well, I'm doing a triathlon. She's like, oh, great. So you'll be biking. I was like, yeah. And then she's like, I was like, but I'll be running as well. I said, can I just use the same sunglasses? And she was like, well, and I'm like, okay, well, just what's the rough price? And it was like $300. I was like, you're telling me I can't buy a pair that just work for both? Like, so I just went to Temu and I was like, I'm just going to get $8 ones. And if they snap or if they don't work, who cares?
I think I found your next sponsorship deal.
Temu?
100%.
Yeah. Hit me up,
Oakley's. I mean, if anyone from Oakley is listening,
come on, you can test them on me. I look great.
No, so good.
Do I have a pair here? Oh yeah, these are the ones that I did. Oh, look at that.
Are they your Temu ones?
Yeah. Yep.
They're
not bad, hey? So the brand is actually Rock Bros, but off. Oh. Rock it out,
bros. That's hilarious.
Yeah, and they come in this little case.
I thought it was gonna be like, wow, that's a legit case. That is heavy duty.
Got a little clip which you can go on your tactical bag.
We've got the whole set. So your next race or event that you have on the calendar, it's kind of etched in at the moment, is Women's Doubles Pro at Hyrox Melbourne.
Yes. So, you know, I would have loved to have gone women's single pro, but given my injury, that's not a smart idea. But I just thought that might be my last opportunity before Worlds to kind of like have a little spin of the course and obviously like a feel of the movement. So yeah, I opted to jump in with a double with my cousin Emma, who's never done a Hyrox before, but she's seen me race many of them. So yes, Women's Pro in Melbourne.
And if you get a top 3 time, you will automatically qualify for the Elite 15 at Worlds.
Yeah, look.
For the doubles.
I love Emma, but even if I was good, I don't know if we could push there. She's just, and this is the reason why I kind of did it, because it was like, there will be no pressure. I mean, if we, you know, make it, we make it, but there's absolutely no pressure for this race. Like, you know, I'll train as much as I can just because I can. Obviously, given the injury, if I'm all cleared, I'll do as much as I can. But, you know, another reason why we are doing it is it just kind of gets me back into racing without the pressure of having to go 4-minute Ks, you know, so we can just get out there and have fun with each other, and she can tick a Hyrox race off her list, and we can just have fun. So, but I wonder if it'll be hard. I'm sure I will get like a sense of competition once I get there, but yeah, just got to take it easy.
Yeah, I think that's a good strategy. But you never know. Maybe Emma is secretly doing extra sessions that she hasn't told you about, and you're both going to end up in the bloody Elite 15 doubles. I think that's crazy. I wish they did a mixed one, a mixed Elite 15.
Why don't they do a mixed one?
Maybe it's just because they're launching the doubles format for the first time. So they're just like, okay, men, women, and then next year or year after, they might do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool though. I like either way, whether it's mixed or same sex, like it's cool that there is another opportunity to make Elite 15. And I know there's a little bit of pushback with some divisions not getting world qualifying slots, but I do like, I love the fact that Hyrox can be this sport that is for anybody and everybody. And obviously wherever they hold, other than Worlds, wherever they hold an event, there will always be a category that you can go into. But I do love that they are moving more towards Worlds just being super competitive, that there's no open division. I probably will get a little bit of pushback on this, but, it just becomes a little bit more elite. Like that's the top tier of the race.
We're on the same train, I think. I was going to say that they've made the pro divisions, or they've prioritized the pro divisions to make it to Worlds instead of having the open option, which kind of didn't make sense because you're going to do pro weights at Worlds. So I don't know, none of that made sense to me before.
Well, see, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that if you qualified for Worlds in an open spot, that at Worlds you had to do pro. I didn't realize that.
There's an open world championships in November in Hong Kong.
Okay, well, I mean, that's great. Then they've still got the option to do that. It just separates them a little bit.
Because it's become such a big sport now. Even when you probably did it last year and you told someone, I'm going to do Hyrox, no one really knew it. They're like, oh, what's Hyrox? Like, explain it to me. And they're like, it's like CrossFit, blah, 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 blah. But now everyone knows that Hyrox is not CrossFit. And they know what it entails. It's become such a crazy, like so much growth. Even Sydney last year, there was like 1,000 people, and now it's 5 times that.
100%. I was speaking to Lottie from Hyrox 2 weekends ago, and she said the exact same thing, that she said that Perth this year was a little bit quieter in comparison to the other locations. But just like you said, she said the first year for Sydney, I think she said there was about 1,000 people, and then Sydney this year was 5,000. So, just because Perth was a little bit quieter this year doesn't mean that they won't run it again next year, because they know how much it's increased over the last 12 months. And you're right, no one last year would have had any, like, I don't think I would have known what Hyrox was if it wasn't for us, BFT being affiliated with them. It might have taken me a little bit longer to find it, but yeah, it's definitely like everyone is talking about Hyrox now. And they're saying it's the new, F45, it's the new cult. Like everyone's got to do a Hyrox race. It's crazy.
Well, now F45's the exclusive gym for Hyrox. I think that just got announced officially today, especially within Australia. So does that mean that BFT doesn't have the exclusive recovery zone anymore or anything like that?
Yes. So with that exclusive, like any gym can be affiliated with Hyrox. It doesn't have to be an F45. It doesn't have to be a BFT. Us as athletes can be affiliated with Hyrox. As coaches, we can be affiliated with Hyrox. If we pay the affiliation fee, of course we can be affiliated. But F45 now become the exclusive partner, but it just means that at the races, instead of seeing BFT, you'll see F45. Doesn't mean that BFT is still not suitable or still can't be affiliated to be a Hyrox training partner. They're just not the official training partner. That makes sense.
That clears things up for everyone.
So you can still come to BFT, guys.
Use the sleds, use everything that you guys have. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Speaking
exactly.
of Hyrox, the New Zealand tickets are going to get released in like 50 minutes, so almost an hour's time. Right. I'm excited to see what time they're going to put our race on, if it's going to be like morning
Oh,
or afternoon or evening.
you know,
Imagine running
so
outside in the evening.
I'm not against it. Might be cooler.
The mozzies, the bugs.
I don't know if you'll feel that. You'll be running too fast, Mon. You won't feel those bugs.
I'll be eating them by accident.
Yeah. Mon's like, I haven't had enough protein today. Got to get my protein intake. What's your ideal, if you could choose a time to have the race, what time would you choose?
Oh, see, so I used to really love morning races, like the earlier the better, because, you know, you just like feel lighter, everything like that. But Hyrox Melbourne was my first experience starting a race at like 6 p.m. And I didn't think I was going to enjoy it, but I loved it at 6 p.m. Like it was so quiet on course. It was so much cooler. So I actually do think the evening maybe, because you've got that energy, you've had a few meals.
I agree. I've always been a morning person, like train in the morning, love to compete in the morning, you know, get it done. In Melbourne, I didn't mind racing at night. The only thing is I was so nervous before that race. I don't know why. I think, you know, a few people had said to me, like, this is your race, Sammy. This is, you know, this is the event built for you. So, you know, a little bit of like external pressure, but having to wait around all day, I thought might take a bit of toll on me. But I think you're right. The fact that you got a bit of time, I'd had a good 2 meals and at least 2 snacks under my belt. I was hydrated. I'd had a carbohydrate drink. Like, fueling was definitely not an issue. But Brisbane Hyrox, when we had it at 1:40, I didn't mind that either because I didn't have to get up. I actually went to work that morning. I got up and I worked. It felt so weird. I was like, I would never work before I compete. But I got up, I had breakfast. I think I had a little snack and definitely a gel before I raced. And that was like, and then I was done by 3 o'clock and could just literally enjoy the afternoon, watch the men pro race. Like, so yeah, I feel like I used to be morning, but now probably anything after lunch and I'm happy.
Yeah, after lunch, Hyrox, please, New Zealand. Or actually, if it's going to be a hot day, no, later on is better.
Yes, true. Yes, if it's above 25 degrees, we'd like to have 6 p.m. at night. But if it's 25, if it's under 25, we'll have it at lunch. If it's over 25, we will have it in the evening, please.
Sounds like a plan. So where can people follow you on socials and, you know, keep up to date with everything?
Well, I have got my Instagram, which is at Sammy Hankins. I share quite a lot on my Instagram. There'll be like lots of training. There'll be lots of me singing in the car on the way to training. And then I also do have a TikTok. I've just started a TikTok. I don't even know what my name is on TikTok. I'm assuming it's Samantha Hankins. But anything that I film that I feel is a little bit like less centered and I don't really know if I want to put it on Instagram, you'll find it on TikTok. So it's a little bit more, it's just lighthearted. It's just fun. Yeah. I would say Instagram's a little bit more serious and then TikTok's just like my fun creative side. But I've only just started that. So that's where you can find the crazy Sammy Hankins.
Well, now you've convinced me to get my TikTok back so I can see all of this content.
Actually, and I want to do some TikTok trends. Like, you know how they do like that, the dance and we should do, and when we're going to New Zealand, we should do the whole like, you know, where you're running from the airport into the arena and I'll call you through. There's so many trends we could do.
The one where they stick their hand out and they're like, slap it. Shall we try it now?
Because I love those kind of things, but sometimes I feel, I don't know what it is about Instagram, but I feel like an idiot putting it on Instagram, but I don't think twice posting it on TikTok. I'm just like, meh, cool. Like, it's just silly. It's just brain numbing stuff, isn't it?
I think you'll get like that a little bit more as you post more on Instagram. I think you'll be like, whatever, and start posting your funny stuff as well. Because people want to see that.
Yeah.
They want to see the unfiltered Sammy, even though you already are unfiltered. Like, you're so raw and real, but they want to see the funny stuff as well.
Yeah. I definitely am getting a little bit more comfortable on Instagram, but you're right. I'm not 100% vulnerable just yet. I just still hold back just a little bit.
Thank you so much for listening to the Stride and Thrive podcast. If you have any topics or a person that you'd love me to interview, then send me a message on Instagram or even on Spotify. I'm pretty sure Spotify has a comment/message section, so make use of that. You never know what can happen. Make sure to subscribe so that you're up to date with the next episode, and keep striding and thriving. See you soon.